Welcome back to Believers IAS Academy. In today's topic of the day discussion, we will be discussing a very important development by the Russian Institute in finding a vaccine which could probably try and solve the problem with respect to cancer, and also probably it would change how the world is seeing cancer as a life-threatening or a deadly disease, right? So in fact, this particular video is about the newly found or developed ENTEROMix mRNA cancer vaccine, and we will try and understand what this vaccine is all about, how it works, and also we will talk about its significance, challenges, and also in the end we will try and solve one prelims question. So as we have discussed, so this is the vaccine which is developed by the Russia, and more specifically it is the National Medical Research Radiology Center of Russia, which has developed this vaccine using the mRNA technique, right? It is a mRNA based vaccine which is designed in a manner that it tries to deliver the medicines or genetic instructions to those cells to produce tumor antigens. Because here this technology, why is it so unique and how is it different from the age-old chemotherapy or the radiotherapy that we know about, is because of its personalized effect. So here, in simple terms, what happens is, because it is mRNA based, as we all know, mRNA stands for messenger RNAs, messenger ribonucleic acids. So what are mRNAs? To be very, or let's say in brief, mRNAs, basically you have the DNA, which is the blueprint of the master copy, the blueprint of a human body, right? Or blueprint of any particular person, a DNA, right? So all of the information from this DNA has to be carried to each and every part of the body, or let's say to various cells, and this information is being carried out by the messenger RNAs or the messenger ribonucleic acid, which carries this information to the cell, and inside the cell we have what? Ribosomes, right? So it carries all the messages to the ribosomes present in the cell in order to produce a particular protein. So of course we are trying to understand it in a very simple term. So now if you understand the role of mRNA, it is pretty much easy to understand the reason why this vaccine is very effective, considering that it is mRNA based. So what is happening? Since it is mRNA based, it delivers genetic instructions to the cells, right? So this mRNA based cancer vaccine now gives certain genetic information, genetic instructions to the cell which it goes or addresses to produce tumor antigens. Because what happens, what is the problem with the body or the immune system of the body present in identifying the cancer cell? Because usually the immune system fails to address or identify that the body or a particular cell is a tumor cell, right? And tumor cells pretty much looks like any other normal cell in the body, but only thing is they'll have tumor, or let's say a particular kind of an antigen which is cancer causing, right, in simple terms, right? So the body's immune system naturally fails to address this, and this rapid spread of this tumor, or once this tumor cell starts becoming or growing more in number, right, that is when it would kind of be total out of control, right? And earlier technologies, or let's say earlier medications, relied on chemotherapy and radiotherapy. So what used to happen was, here when a person was diagnosed with a particular cancer, right, had to undergo chemotherapy or a radiotherapy, right? So he had to undergo, or the medicines or the chemicals, right, all those medicines that was put inside his body as a part of chemotherapy would kill both the cancer cell and also the healthy cells, causing severe side effects. I think you pretty well know what the side effects that we are talking about, right? So what used to happen in the conventional method was that once a particular person diagnosed with cancer was administered to radiotherapy or chemotherapy, essentially this radiotherapy or chemotherapy was killing all the cancer cells and also even the healthy cells in the human body, right? So this was very drastic because of the side effects which it used to leave, and also the chances of even, let's say, the success rate of chemotherapy and radiotherapy to some extent wasn't even promising as well, right? And also the patient had to take a huge toll. So it used to completely leave out huge side effects, lifelong side effects, which used to carry forward on the patient whosoever had went through chemotherapy or radiotherapy, right? So hence, this particular new vaccine, an mRNA based vaccine, is like a new invention in itself, because here what is happening, this mRNA vaccine administered to a particular person directly targets that particular cell, right, which probably has tumor, and it identifies that particular antigen. It not only attacks this particular cell, right, it not only attacks this particular antigen or particular tumor cell, but also informs the immune system of the human body to send its antibodies or prepare a particular protein, which is required to fight this tumor cell off, right? So basically you're talking about twofold action here, right? So this is the new technology or the new development that this particular vaccine is bringing on the table, right? So now I think it is very clear. So hence it is mRNA, it directly carries or delivers genetic instructions to cells and to produce tumor antigens. And difference from earlier cancer medicines, one is the traditional therapies we discussed, and earlier vaccines based on weakened or inactivated viruses, right? So earlier vaccines were pretty much based on the weakened or inactivated viruses, which limited personalization, right? So now cancers are of different types, various types: breast cancer, lung cancer, liver cancer, right? Even blood cancer, right? So for all of that, there were no specialized sort of chemotherapies, right? Everything was administered all at once, right? And limited personalization, right? Because it was used based on a particular set of viruses which were either weakened or inactivated and was injected or infused into the human body, and hence a scope of personalization, right? The first point that we discussed, why this stands out is because of the personalized and the localized effect of this particular cancer vaccine. So hence the old one weren't that localized, or it had very limited personalization in terms of the efficacy of that particular vaccine, right? So hence the ENTEROMix, it is more personalized vaccine designed for each patient's tumor antigens, treating immune system to attack only cancer cells. As we discussed, it not only attacks the tumor cell, but also makes sure that it trains the immune system of the human body to produce or to attack or to produce antibodies to attack only that particular cancer cells, even in the long run, or let's say in the coming days, right? So this is the importance of this particular mRNA vaccine. Now, how does this work? It uses 4 harmless virus combinations, right, which directly targets and destroys the tumor cells, right? And it activates the immune response against cancer. As we discussed, it not only attacks the tumor cell, if this is the tumor cell, the vaccine, right, if this is the vaccine, and if this is the immune system of the human body. So this vaccine, mRNA based vaccine, it not only destroys or attacks this tumor, but also it sends a message to the immune system of the human body to identify that this particular cell, which has this particular abnormality, as a tumor cell or a cancer causing cell, so that even in the long run, whenever the immune system identifies any sort of cells like this in the human body, can send antibodies or create, or let's say produce any protein which can kill this antigens, right? So that is the role which is played by this mRNA vaccine. And the mechanism, patient's tumor antigens are identified. First, foremost, doctors identify the patient's tumor as to what particular cancer is the person is diagnosed with, right? And they identify the tumor causing antigens, and then vaccine teaches immune system to recognize these tumor specific, and once after understanding the particular type of cancer or the tumor which is causing cancer, then a vaccine is, the particular vaccine administered to that particular tumor is given to the body of the individual or the patient, and this vaccine teaches the immune system, right? It teaches the immune system to recognize these tumor specific antigens even in the future as well, and the immune system produces antibodies and cytotoxic T cells to eliminate cancer cells, right? And what is the outcome? Slows tumor progression and in some cases may eliminate tumors completely. So even it is talking about an efficacy of more than 60 to 70%, right? So that is how promising this particular new vaccine is all about. So I hope this is very clear as to how this works. Now, talking about the challenges and the significance. What are the challenges? One is the storage, needs ultra cold conditions, right? And also the problem is with respect to the chain of distribution, right? Because it is newly found, and now obviously the need for this particular vaccine is definitely there worldwide, right? So hence proper infrastructure has to be maintained in each and every countries in order to store this particular vaccine, not only to store but also to ensure that distribution of this particular vaccine is ensured, right? And also side effects, right? Short-term fever, fatigue, injection site pain. Of course, considering the side effects of chemotherapy and radiotherapy, these side effects is still is considered to be manageable, but still it has few side effects. And talking about the long-term safety, it is still under study, right? It has not been fully administered everywhere, so it is still considered that it is still under study. And also, as mRNA vaccines are relatively new, so we don't have enough technology or enough examples of being administering or being used or let's say mRNA based vaccines being used in the human let's say the hospitals is what is not been seen, and this is a kind of a new invention, so hence it takes time, right? It takes time. So obviously about the long term safety, it is pretty much clueless is what the point is all about, right? Then talking about the significance, it provides more personalized treatment because each vaccine tailored to patients' tumor profile. And then talking about the clinical trials, it has already successfully completed 120 plus clinical trials worldwide on various cancers including lung, breast, melanoma, pancreatic and brain cancers. And also it has a potential to revolutionize the cancer care, right? More precise, less toxic, and even the elimination of chemotherapy or radiotherapy to some extent, right? So this pretty much sounds like it is going to give a huge relief to, in fact, everyone who is concerned with this particular disease, not only them, but even the world today with what pace we are going and the kind of lifestyle we have. The only danger or only worry is with respect to cancer, right? Anyone diagnosed with cancer is like probably knocking the doors of the heaven, right? So that's what the mentality is with respect to cancer. So this invention is probably going to create more avenues even for institutions, especially hospitals and even governments, to probably work on even more such useful vaccines going forward. At least if not anything, this has created a benchmark, right? A platform on which further studies can be made and also more efficacy can be brought in terms of how these vaccines are being administered to the human body, or in terms of the efficacy of the particular vaccine, right? So that is all for this particular video. I hope you have clearly understood about the mRNA new ENTEROMix vaccine. So let's solve one prelims question. With reference to mRNA cancer vaccines, consider the following statements. Unlike preventive vaccines, they are designed to treat patients already diagnosed with cancer. They train the immune system to recognize tumor-specific antigens while sparing healthy cells. Sipuleucel T, the first cancer vaccine approved by the US FDA, is based on mRNA technology. Use the comment section, leave your answers below. Anyway, that's all for this particular video. Signing off, this is Madan Gopal. Have a beautiful day.